This I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall reap also bountifully. Every man according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver. The liberal soul shall be made fat, and he that watereth shall be watered also himself. Giving can be done through Patreon, PayPal, or Cash App. All links are in the description. As stated over the years, if you do give, let it be in accordance with the scriptures. Love you. Let's get it. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Staying Focused for Jesus. Hope each and every one of you are having a blessed day in the Lord Jesus Christ. As always, today is Monday, October 23rd, 2023. Monday, October 23rd, 2023. The time is currently 3:58 p.m. Shout out to Sister Clark. Y'all see her name right there on the screen. She sees her own name. I know she's probably watching this video at some point in time. God bless you, sister. Y'all make sure, y'all make sure that you keep our elder sister in prayer, and not only her, but all of us. Make sure that we're praying for one another. Make sure that we're praying for one another. Make sure y'all, of course, praying for me. I will take the prayers in Jesus' name. But yeah, make sure we just keep on praying for one another in these times that we're living with. Not everybody is as strong in the faith as some of us are. There are those weaker in the faith, and we must remain strong for them so they can see the strength of God manifested. Let us do that. Those of us who are in that position, let us do that. As you see from the title of the video, trigger warning. Trigger warning. There's an interview we're going to watch with Julius. And he went in. America is done for. America is done for. I'm not saying that America is done for right now because it's yet to be seen. I'm not going to say a lie. But as we say, could we get that from the Bible? When the hand of God wrote on the wall. It is written on the wall. America's done for, man. The writing is on the wall, meaning that ain't nothing you can do about it to change it. The state of Israel is done for. Could it be now? Could it be later? We don't know yet. But it's going to happen. Everybody want to know what's going on. Everybody want to know what's going to pop off. Everybody want to know something. Everybody on edge. Man, what's different about this situation? Because everybody's involved. Nations that weren't involved before, they're involved. Peoples that were not involved before, they are involved. As you see what I have on the screen, I said the issue isn't necessarily Hamas. The issue is more so other nations rising up and America not having a foothold anymore. African nations are bucking against Western colonization and siding with Russia and the Palestinians. That is the bigger issue. America is an old and wounded lion fighting for its last breath. Have you not noticed that most people in African nations are standing with the Palestinians? All this is Bible prophecy literally coming to pass right in front of your face. This is the big fear of America, because America knows it cannot defend off all of these other nations if they get involved. They don't have the resources. They don't have the manpower. They just can't do it because America's already stretched super duper thin. So what does America do? It talks a big game. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to put sanctions on Russia and to stop them from doing what they're doing in Ukraine. It ain't stopped nothing. I told you this. Others told you this. We told you this. You cannot stop Russia. But y'all steady praying. It's almost like you're praying for God's will not to be fulfilled. And who is in, who is in bed with Russia? Most of the African nations. What did America do? America has alienated the African nations. But Putin, and the wisdom that God gave him, I'm going to team up with them. And these African nations, they're supporting Palestine. This is what it boils down to. America is losing a foothold in what we call the Middle East, in the African region of the world. That's what's really going down. This is why America is making threats and flexing its muscles with this whole situation. Like, look, you better not get involved. You bet. It's almost like, okay, we know what America is capable of, but bro, your arm is broke. Both your arms are broken. You talking about we better not get involved. Then the other nations are like, well, America's arms are broken. Yeah, they still strong. They still got their bodyguards and stuff like that. They still got their people. But if we hit them now all together, we can take them out. And this is what America's doing. We're going to send our carriers over there, our USS carriers, to flex our muscles, and we dare you to do something. What happens when the other nations, they do something collectively? Let's say that Hamas is defeated. Let's say that Hamas is defeated. Does that change anything? No, because the other nations that are right there, their goal is to eventually defeat them. What about all the African nations that are siding with Palestine? That's the bigger threat. People are so focused on Hamas, Hezbollah. It's bigger than that. All these other nations are like, look, we ain't going for this. That's what happens when you're bloodthirsty and you continue to do things in an evil way, and you don't think that people are eventually going to rise up. Now, we know Africa is the future of what we know as a New World Order. We know that. And all the pieces are being put in place. All you got to do is sit back and watch and let the Holy Spirit guide you and lead you, and you will really see what's going on. This thing is way bigger than Hamas. This thing is bigger than Hamas, Iran, all these other nations. It really ain't got nothing to do with the state of Israel. The state of Israel is a political entity that is an arm of the United States, or vice versa. Some people say, "Oh, America is the arm of state of Israel." They all part of the same body, same team. Either way, right? They know what the future holds, so what they're trying to do is they're trying to stop Bible prophecy. When they established the state of Israel, they did that under the guise of, hey, let's go ahead and start this to try to speed up Bible prophecy. Because their focus wasn't even on the land that we know as Israel. It was focused on what? On Uganda and some other places. And somebody whispered in the ear, we can get the money. We can get the money to get this piece of land right here. We can get the money that we need to establish what we want to establish if we lay hold to Bible prophecy and say that we are the people and all these other things. Now this experiment is coming to an end. It's coming to an end. These people are wicked. We ain't talking about everything that's going on, what they're doing and stuff. We just talking about in general, they are wicked. And the word says that if Israel, let's say these other people, if they are in fact Israel and they've been wicked, the Lord God Almighty himself said, what? That you would not be able to stand before your enemies. Now, for some reason, they've been able to stand before their enemies. And then if they end up being defeated, Lord willing, this go around, then people are going to say, oh, see, this is a fulfillment of Bible prophecy. They couldn't stand before their enemies. Interesting. They stood before their enemies all these years, all these wars prior to this one, in disobedience, Even though God said, hey, if you don't listen to me, then you're not going to be able to stand before your enemies. And now if they get defeated, it's because, oh, they were disobedient. But if they win, it's because God was on their side. In disobedience, even though God said that, hey, you're not going to be able to stand before your enemies in your disobedience. You see how that works? I'm telling you these different things because whatever the outcome is, this is what they're going to say. I'm telling you what they're going to say before they say it. These are the tactics that they use. Ezekiel 38. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Everybody pretty much concludes, today this is known as Russia. In the future, it may be called something else. I don't know. Just like in the past, it was called something else. Just like with the land of Israel, it was called what? The land of Palestine, the land of Canaan. Yeah, different names. But we know what land mass is talking about. Just like we know what land mass and what people is talking about here. This is talking about Russia today. And the chief prince is who? Vladimir Putin. People get messed up with Ezekiel 38 because they believe that Ezekiel 38 is talking about World War III. The different things that are going on today are leading up to Ezekiel 38, Ezekiel 39. But Ezekiel 38 more so takes place during the time of Jacob's trouble, when the Antichrist is ruling and reigning from Africa, the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, all that's Africa. I don't care what they're talking about, Western Asia or whatever. I ain't studying all that. Most of this right here, Ezekiel 38, 39, it takes place during that time period. And it also takes place at the end of the millennial reign of Christ. When Satan is released, he goes out to the Gentile nations, Gog, Magog, and gathers them to fight against Christ during that time period. Like I told you, prophecy, past, present, and future, at least 3 times. And I'm going to keep on showing you that until you get it. And even when you get it, I'm still going to show it to you. Because you have to understand that. You have to understand that. So we know, again, that this is more so a prophecy speaking about who we know today as Russia. Who we know today as Russia. Let's say that Vladimir Putin, he dies today. People can die, right? Then whoever comes up next as the chief prince, that's who it would be. I love my wife. I love being married to her. But one day, if we're still here, she's going to die. My wife loves me. She loves being married to me. And if we're here long enough, one day, I may die before she dies. What point am I making with that? All things come to an end. And most Americans, they are delusional. They are strictly delusional. Where's the great Babylonian Empire that Nebuchadnezzar was ruling over? Is it ruling like it was today? Nope. What about the Medo-Persians? The Medo Empire, the Persian Empire. What about all these old great empires that we read about, we know about? Where are they? Are they in power today? No. All things come to an end. That means eventually America will fall because it has to. And y'all are sitting here, many of you, you're so locked in American pride that you can't even see what the Bible's telling you. Just like the Titanic went down, you're going to go down with America also. Just like the Titanic went down, you're going to go down with America also. And say, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thine army. horses and horsemen, and all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Verse number 5. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. This is this Russian African Arab alliance. This is what this is. You've heard it before, you saw me preach it. As I was studying this and getting a sermon together, the Lord showed me something deeper. This is why I say, how deep do you want to go? How rooted do you want to be to bring forth more fruit? He showed me something very, 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 very interesting that I didn't see before. Let's keep on reading though. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. I want to go down, because you pretty much get the context, right? Then look what he says right here. He says, after many days thou shalt be visited, in the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword. So in the latter years, you're going to come into the land of Israel that is brought back from the sword, that is brought back from war, and is gathered out of many people, against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste. But it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Now, remember I told you, past, present, future. This is more so speaking about that millennial reign of Christ time period. When Satan goes out, he deceives the nations and gathers them. It's more so talking about that. But it doesn't mean that it's not talking about and doesn't apply to many things that are going on today. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. Now, go to verse number 11. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods, that dwell in the midst of the land. Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish, with all the young lions thereof, shall say unto thee, art thou come to take a spoil? Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil? You see, people are at rest. He said the desolate places, the desert places, it's inhabited now. He said, let's go to the place of the unwalled, where people don't have no walls, because they don't need any walls in the time period. Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto God, thus saith the Lord God, in that day when my people of Israel dwelleth safely, shalt thou not know it? He's like, hey, my people are dwelling safely. Why would you want to do something like this? You know they're dwelling safely. These are things that you know. The people over in the land, they're not dwelling safely, are they? They're not. So y'all have a big issue, because they will never dwell safely as long as the Arab nations are surrounding them and the African nations are surrounding them. They will never dwell safely. But y'all say that, what? Oh, Christ is coming. But there are things that must happen. Christ is coming to get the church, the bride, right? But what about the rule of the Antichrist? You see what I'm saying? People are lying to you and they're not rightly dividing the word of truth. And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts, thou and many people with thee, all of them riding upon horses, a great company and a mighty army. And thou shalt come up against what? My people of Israel. My people of Israel. Now, how does that work for you? It doesn't. Because we know who the people of Israel are, don't we? We know that it is not the people over there in the land. It's telling you what? That Gog is going to come up against Israel, the true Israelites, who we know who they are, right? That means what? What I've been telling you. Either we have to be in the land, our people collectively have to be in the land soon, which means that something must happen for us to be in the land soon, for Gog Russia to eventually come against his people Israel, who we know as black people. Not saying that everybody's black, but you get my point. Or I should say, or that time period that we spoke about that's mentioned in the book of Revelation. When Satan is released, he goes out to deceive the nations, the Gentile nations, to come up against God and his people. Either way, we know that prophecy applies past, present, and future. Then it says, as a cloud to cover the land, it shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know me, when I shall be sanctified in thee, O God, before their eyes. Ezekiel 38 and 39, people are trying to specifically apply it to today. It doesn't fit specifically. Yes, it fits in regards to certain aspect because prophecy always builds itself up. Prophecy always builds itself up. There are pieces to prophecies, and then they all come together until you get the ultimate fulfillment of that prophecy. Let's go back to verse number 5. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with him. With who? With Gog. With modern day who we know as Russia. Now this is an ancient map of the Persian Empire about 500 BC. Notice something? Same area, right? Same area. Libya, of course, Israel, all up in here. Almost touching India. Almost reaching over there to China. We know that China is involved in this today. China, we know who they worship, the dragon. And then we look at this map. It tells you Gog and Magog. You have the Muslim countries. You got Russia right there. You got China, of course, right there, India. We just saw it with this map right here, right there on that borderline. Here's another map, just to give you a general idea of what we're talking about. Some people, they can understand stuff better when they see it. And then this is another one you have, shows you Russia, Kazakhstan, how you pronounce it, Iran, Turkey, Libya, Ethiopia, all these nations. So we know that even though these nations are mentioned, these specific nations, we know it's all of these places. And people think this is about to be a fulfillment of Bible prophecy in the sense of Ezekiel 38 being fulfilled and all these nations coming against the people here. The problem is people are more focused on the land of Israel and not understanding and focused on who the people actually are. That's why they're what we call eschatology. Their theology is messed up. That's the number one reason. This is why it matters. It matters in regards to Bible prophecy. Israel is God's timepiece, not necessarily the land. Yes, the land does play an important piece in Bible prophecy, but God is more so focused on his people. Let's not forget, the land of Israel is named after who? Israel, who is a people. So now you can see how this Gog Magog invasion is more so in the future in regards to Ezekiel 38 and 39 being fulfilled specifically during that time period where Israel, we as a people, are at rest. We are at rest, not having to worry about war until after the 1,000-year millennial reign. Then we know what happened with that. And we can conclude this is going to include India, all these different places, China. I mean, it's not hard to figure that out. I'm going to show you why in a second. And just so you can see what I'm talking about, go to Revelation chapter 20. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. This is where we get the 1,000-year millennial reign. And there's other scriptures, but this is one of the main ones. And cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loose a little season. The reason he is loose for a little season is because he goes out and deceives the nations pretty much. He tests them. Everybody during that time period, you have worldwide peace, prosperity everywhere. And now all the people that have literally seen Christ and have no excuses, they have to be tested. They have to be tested just like, well, I should say they have to be tested and tried, just like the people of our time period right now, our generation, we have been and continue to be tested and tried to see if we really love the Lord. So we can, to see if you can be chosen to go to the next, as we say, next elevation, and that is the new heaven and new earth. Then we go down, verse number 7, it says, and when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. Let me go back to verse number 6. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And this reign isn't just 1,000 years. We get to reign with him after the fact too. But it's just telling you specifically this, you have this reign right here. And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. That's why we looked at that map. They deep. It's plenty of them. It's plenty of them. Or even more time. And when 1,000 years are expired, this is talking about after the millennial reign of Christ, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go and do what? Go out to deceive the nations which are in the what? Four quarters of the earth. The earth is going to be re-inhabited again, all over. Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. Now, let me tell you why I believe he's saying specifically Gog and Magog. One, we know this is a Gentile lineage, right? Two, because of the fact this being a Gentile lineage, when Satan is released, this is what I believe what happens. Satan is released and he goes out and he tells these people, hey, your people used to be in power. Let me show you how it used to be. Oh, we used to rule the world. Yeah, I heard rumors about this, but I ain't know the truth. See, we're going to tell them the true history. But Satan is going to go out, and I believe that's how he's going to deceive them, giving them a taste of the old world, because the old world is the old world that Satan used to rule, which is the world we're in right now. When Christ is ruling and reigning, the devil's locked up, then he gets out, he's like, oh, I'm finally free. He wants to go back to the way that things used to be, because then he was ruling over the world through the people, through the what? The Gentile nations. That's how I believe that he's going to primarily deceive them. I'm not saying that he's not going to deceive them other ways, but that's some of the revelations, some of the insight into the future the Lord has shown me. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city, and fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. And then you know the rest of it. Now going back to this old Persian empire, we know that everything going on right now is leading up to what we just read in the book of Revelation. There's nothing new under the sun. God is gathering all these nations. He's making these connections with these different nations because his word is going to be fulfilled. His word is going to be fulfilled. Now let's look at Kush. Let's look at Kush, because he told you Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya. And you're like, hold on now. That's not all nations. That's not all nations. God can say something and then there's deeper meaning to it. Now I'm going to show you this. I didn't see this before. If you go look at it, it says Ethiopia, Kush, Ethiopians, black. That means you're going to have black people. Not only now, we see it, Russia and the African nations come together, the Arabs, all of them come together, but also in the future, after the 1,000-year millennial reign, devil goes out to see the nations, you're going to have the same thing. What? Gentiles collaborating with black folk to come against other black folk, come against Israel. But what about now? So it tells you Kush is a son, well, a Benjamite, mentioned only in the title of Psalm 7, the son of Ham and grandson of Noah, and the progenitor of the southernmost peoples located in Africa, the people descended from Kush. The land occupied by the descendants of Kush located around the southern parts of the Nile, Ethiopia. I read that, I was like, oh, I get it now. I get it now. B is where the wisdom is at. Progenitor of the southernmost peoples located in Africa. When he's talking about Ethiopia being with Gog, Magog, right? These other Gentile nations in our time period, and also now, he's not just talking about Ethiopia, the nation that we know about today. What's he talking about? The whole southern part of Africa, all the African nations, all the African nations. And I'm going to show you that. It means look what it says, a nation and people of northern Africa. Northern Africa. A son of Ham, also name of his descendants or their region, and of a what? And of a Persian tribe. Do you see the connection? What is he telling us? All Africa, the southern part and the northern part, collectively coming against Israel during the time period after the 1,000-year millennial reign, and also now. Because we know it applies now. Do we have the evidence? Do we have the fruit? Of course we do. We've covered it before. How Russia is in bed with these African nations. We see the African nations, they're bucking against the other nations, the other Western nations, European nations. But Putin like, look, I know it's coming. Putin like, I ain't rocking with what America is doing. God is using Putin, Russia, to fight against their own family, the Americans. When I say the American, I mean, white Americans. But you also have what? Black people here. They will die for America. He's talking about all Africa. And look at this. How many African countries are there? There are 54 countries in Africa. Africa has the second largest population in the world. Now, we know what's going on in Africa. These nations are rising up. These countries are rising up. We know what's going on. What happens when they come to power? And they say, you know what? No more. You see, the issue is bigger than Hamas. The issue is bigger than Hamas because, okay, Hamas is gone. Somebody else is going to pop up in their place after the fact. And eventually, these African nations, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And they're not going to stand, or I should say continue to stand for what the state of Israel is doing. Because most of these African nations, they're siding with the Palestinians. Yeah. You starting to see the bigger picture? You starting to see the bigger picture? Now look at this. There are 54 African countries. Russia has signed agreements for military cooperation with over 40 African countries. Let that sink in. Russia has signed military cooperation with over 40 African countries. There's 54 of them. And just so you can see the math, it says to calculate the percentage of African countries in agreement with Russia for military cooperation, you can use the following formula. Percentage equals number of countries in agreement divided by total number of countries times 100, right? In this case, the number of countries in agreement with Russia is 40, and the total number of African countries is 54. 40 divided by 54 times 100. So you take that and you times that 100 is 74.07%. So approximately 74% of the African nations are in agreement with Russia for military cooperation. Let that sink in. When he's talking about Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, what was he talking about? He's talking about all these black nations, all these black countries, which includes Southern Africa, Northern Africa, and these Arab nations, these Arab countries that are also black. And here's an old map I found. It said, did you know this ancient map of Africa shows the vast area formerly known as Ethiopia as opposed to the East African country called Ethiopia today. So the country we call Ethiopia today was known as Abyssinia. But historically, Ethiopia was what? It's really the whole Africa, which that makes sense because it told you Ethiopia and Libya. Libya would be up here. What it's telling you is all of Africa, all up here we saw on the map. Modern Ethiopia was known as Abyssinia, and ancient Ethiopia was the rest of black Africa. You had the southern part, which is what we saw in the definition, and what? The northern part, which according to them, this was upper Ethiopia and this was lower Ethiopia. You see it says Negro land right there, but you get the point. All of Africa. Remember I did the video showing you about the shape of Africa is the shape of the serpent with the deadly head wound. The serpent with the deadly head wound. You see that? Right there. I got a video on that showing you that. Let's go over to this video. Julius Malema sends a strong message to Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This video was released October 23rd, 2023. That's today, y'all. That's today. Let's see what he has to say. Let's see what he has to say. Trigger warning. Trigger warning because he goes in. He goes in.
Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. We must make sure that those who support Palestine, especially our brothers and sisters who believe that Palestine is under attack, this nonsense of Israel can only be stopped if South Africa takes a position and say leave. The whole African continent will join, the whole progressive international world will join and say Palestine embassies must leave.
Like I told you, the issue is bigger than Hamas. He says the South African nation, South African country, we need to come together and put these people out and put an end to the state of Israel. If they do that, then come on now, this simple math, man. Simple math.
We are here to do a simple task, to tell Israel and the world to know that we are on the side of Palestine. We are not neutral, because neutrality during the difficult times is equal to selling out. Palestinians will remember the silence of those who kept quiet during difficult times. We are here today in Pretoria, the heart of apartheid. The reason why we are able to come and march here today and do it freely, without soldiers carrying guns, without police carrying guns, without us being intimidated, is because the people of the world stood with us during difficult times. It was the people of Nigeria who took their money from their salaries and donated to liberation movement for us to get our freedom. It was the anti-apartheid movement in America, in UK, in many other parts of the world, where the world stood in solidarity with us and said, we will not sit down and watch the Afrikaner apartheid regime killing our people in South Africa. That's why we have our freedom today. We are here to extend the same favor to the children of Palestine. The war in Palestine is not a holy war, it's an evil war. Because even here, the apartheid Afrikaner regime used to say they are the chosen ones, used to say they are children of God, and we are animals. So when
he said the same thing that's happening right now. They came in to South Africa and it was, hey, we the chosen people. This is how we come to take it, and nothing you can do about it. This is a holy war. They're doing it under the guise of the Bible, man. They're doing it under the guise of the Word of God. And people can't see that. They can't separate the two of them. I tell you, man, he the man go in. I watch some of the stuff he be going in. I ain't gonna say I agree with a lot of stuff he says, but he going in. He going in. It's a wrap. It's a wrap, man. It's a wrap for America. It's a wrap for the state of Israel. Rather, it's now or later. And if America falls, the state of Israel falls.
And the Minister of Defense of Israel calls Palestinians animals. We know what he means because we were called animals ourselves here in South Africa by those who were claiming they were sent by God. There is no holy war there. There is an evil war. And we must always stand against the evil. Comrades, what type of government do we have in Israel that goes and bomb a hospital where people have run away for refugee, where people are sick, where children are there, where pregnant women are there? You bomb a hospital and you say you are looking for Hamas, but you are killing innocent children. There is nothing wrong Hamas did. This folk tongues and people speaking in parables and we don't know what they are hearing, what they are saying, it's wrong. When you are oppressed, the only option you have is to fight. And that's what Hamas is doing. They are fighting for their freedom. Mandela did the same thing, took up the guns and fought for the freedom of the people of South Africa. When you are oppressed, you only have one option. Confront the enemy and shoot to kill. Do not kiss the enemy. Why do you want to kill?
Some of you don't know about him, but those of us who keep up with what's going on around the world, especially amongst our own people, we know who he is. We know what type of power he has, and we know what type of power he's most likely going to have in the future, which is going to be more power than he has now. Some of you don't know, but we know. And if he is riling up the people, which he has been doing, and he's saying this, then you might want to take heed. You just might want to take heed. Because they ain't playing no games. And if the man's saying that, look, we're not going to support the state of Israel, we stand with Hamas, even if Hamas gets wiped off the face of the earth, another group is going to pop up. And eventually, you're going to have all South Africa. These South Africans that are right now standing with Palestine, they're going to be like, you know what? We're tired of y'all. Now we're coming for you. We got the military force. We're greater than you. We're stronger than you. We're stronger than America. We come to get your ass. You got to go. Cause we trying to live at peace. Of course, we know their peace ain't the same peace as what we talk about in regards to Christ. But they're going to say, hey, we trying to be at peace and you causing too many problems. You didn't cause too many problems for too long. You got to go. So the issue is only going to get bigger, which is why you see this conflict growing and growing and growing and growing. Because they're like, look, now is the time. The question is not if it's the time for them, but if it's God's time, is he going to allow it to go ahead and pop off? That's the question. Is he going to allow it to go ahead and pop off to bring in this war that's going to be crazy? Hey, if it pop off, you might well hold on because it's going to get crazy. To ultimately bring in the new world order. What I see happening is this. I'm not giving this as a prophecy, but it's just what I see happening based on the wisdom that I do have. If this does pop off World War III, it's going to be utter chaos. It's going to be stuff you ain't never seen before. Technologies you ain't never seen, never heard before being used. Until pretty much it's like, what are we doing? Almost like we call it a stalemate. Yeah, that's the best word I can use. A stalemate where pretty much nobody wins. Except us, of course. But you get my point. You get my point. Now, we may have to suffer some. We don't know what we have to go through. But this is what I've been preparing y'all for all these years. I've been preaching. Regardless of that, God got us regardless. He had you before. He had you now. He going to continue to have you. But if you ain't right with him, you might want to get right. And guess what? When it does pop off, rather it's now or later, stay out these folks' way. Don't get involved in stuff that you ain't got no business getting involved in and getting yourself hurt.
He's the enemy. People came, took the land of the Palestinians. Every year they extend their occupation. When you look at the map of Palestine, there is nothing left of land in Palestine. The people of Palestine have got nothing to lose but their chains. They must stand up and fight for their freedom, and condemning Hamas is an act of cowardice. I heard some fools saying we can't compare Hamas with Mandela and them. They are the same. This president of Areta carried guns. He was shooting to kill, to liberate you. He was doing exactly what Hamas is doing. O.R. Tambo did the same thing. Chris Hani did the same thing. Winnie Mandela did the same thing. Steve Biko did the same thing. There is nothing wrong Hamas is doing. But where did this ANC and MK get money to have guns, to have ammunition, to have food? The international progressive world gave them guns, gave them food, gave them their camps, Cuba gave them doctors. They were called terrorists, like Hamas is called terrorists, but people did not see terrorists in them, they saw liberators. The EFF, when it takes over next year, is going to arm Hamas and make sure Hamas has got the necessary equipment to fight for their freedom.
Did you hear what he said? This man said that, hey, when we take over next year, the government takes over because they have kicked the colonizers out and everything. They're going to establish their government. We are going to arm Hamas. Now you understand. Now you're starting to see what's the big deal. Why is there so much tension? Because of stuff like this. It's bigger than Hamas. It deals with oppression. And this is what you get when you have oppressed all these people from all around the world for so long. It gets to a point they say enough is enough. You're gonna kill us anyway, so guess what? We might as well go ahead and kill you while we can. We're gonna die anyway, so hey, at least I'm gonna take out, some of y'all when I die. And when you got a people like that, when you got people thinking like that, ain't nothing you can do with them. Christ told you the same thing. Once you have defeated death, there's nothing the world can do with you. He said, fear not them that can kill the body, but fear him that can kill the body and destroy the soul. There's not a thing that anybody can do with you. And this is exactly what we're seeing.
Netanyahu is a #1 terrorist, and he must be declared everywhere he goes. He must never know peace because he's a #1 world terrorist, and the world must fight against terrorists.
The world must fight against, if he's saying fight against Netanyahu, then guess what? Fight against the state of Israel. It doesn't end with Hamas, y'all. It doesn't end with Hamas. This is why America wants to continue to have this foothold, this so-called stronghold over there, because of all the other nations that pose a threat to America. But here's the thing that we all know. America is done for. Regardless, if it's now or later.
A murderer, a person who's committing genocide in Palestine in the name of attacking Hamas, yet is attacking innocent women and children. He says to them, I'm giving you 24 hours to leave Gaza, or else I'm coming in. As the people are walking out of Gaza, scared of Israel, he's shooting those innocent people. Yet he's the one who said, leave. When they are leaving, he's killing them. It can't be that the people of South Africa, who are beneficiaries of international solidarity, sit back and allow this nonsense to go on. We don't want apartheid Israel. And when we say we don't want apartheid Israel, it must never be confused with the fact that we are saying we don't want the Jews.
Now, he's going to say the Jews, but he's referring to people over there. Yet I know for a fact he knows who the Jews are. But when you politicking, you got to say the right stuff. I know for a fact, and many of you know, that he knows who the Jews are. He said it himself on numerous occasions. The point he's making is, hey, if that's what you claim, if you want to be at peace, then we accept you. But this apartheid state, we don't accept that, and we will not accept it, because that's the same thing that they are fighting against. And they're looking in, and they're like, well, what happened to us has happened to them. So when we needed help, they helped us. Therefore, we can't stand by and not help them, and at least, and defend them in words. We can't do nothing now because we ain't got the weapons and stuff. But when we do, we got your back because you had our back. That's what happened when you oppress people unrighteously. You take things further than what they're supposed to be. This is what happens when you let wickedness rule and reign.
It's not true. There are a lot of white people in South Africa when we're fighting a white apartheid regime. One of them is here. He joined the struggle against white apartheid in South Africa. Yet he was white because he never saw that struggle as a struggle against white people. He saw it as a struggle to liberate the oppressed masses of our people. So where are the progressive Jews to stand up and say we do not associate ourselves with Netanyahu? No one must go around saying we are fighting with Jews, not in our name. We are not fighting with Jews. We are fighting with an apartheid Israel, and it shall fall. It's just a matter of time before the illegitimate government of Israel falls.
If this man is saying that and representing a lot of South Africa, and you saw the numbers in regards to the size, everybody knows the size of Africa. Everybody knows how many black folks over there. If you don't, you better do your research. I've shown you the videos about Africa being the future. He sat there and said that, hey, it's only a matter of time that they fall. It's only a matter of time. He said, if it ain't now, then it's later. So there's a lot of people behind closed door, they're talking. They're like, look, this is the time. You got the Arab nations, they talking. And what they're telling them is this. I know you're doing business with America. I know you're doing the business with this place. But these are your core beliefs in regards to what they believe in regards to Islam. Let's put our differences aside for the sake of Islam, because we know what they're about. We know what they're going to bring in. We know about Saudi Arabia, Mystery Babylon. We know all these different things. Stop praying against Bible prophecy, especially with everything going on right now. You should be praying that God, you should be praying that Hamas defeats them swiftly. And that the other nations do get involved in it. So God can be glorified that much more. And we can get on.
Comrades, we are not only going to arm Hamas, we are going to remove this embassy. Because we can't stay with murderers in the same area, breathe the same air with people who kill innocent people. Don't listen to those who were here on Friday coming for PR. They've got the power to remove this nonsense behind this truck. They are not removing it. Why? They are getting money from the Israeli government. That's why they are scared of the Israeli government. Cyril Ramaphosa was made a president with the money donated to him by the Jewish people who are behind this Israeli embassy and the Israeli government. Those who gave Cyril money are the Jewish people who are not progressive, are Jewish people who want to perpetuate the apartheid Israel and the oppression of Palestine. That's why Cyril can't say anything. He went to the ANC, NEC, wear a scarf. Yes, sirs. Those Jewish people were like, "Wena, you wear a scarf with Palestinian scarf with our money." He had to issue a statement to explain himself. There is nothing to explain, even ourselves when we live here. We are not explaining anything to anyone. We make no apology for being here. Comrades, call to action. McDonald's is giving the soldiers of Israel food in Israel. We want McDonald's South Africa to distance itself from what is happening in Israel. They've got until the end of this month to issue a statement distancing themselves from what McDonald's is doing in Israel, giving murderers food to murder women and children. Comrades, Woolworths has got a responsibility by end of this month to remove every product on their shelves that comes from Israel. If they don't remove products from Israel, we'll go and remove them ourselves. We don't want any product of Israel sold here in South Africa. We don't want the food that comes from the people who have blood of innocent people on their hands.
And that's where you can really hit somebody at. You hit them in their pockets. You hit them in their pockets. That's why you see so many, lawsuits. That's why you see so many lawsuits, and lawsuits lead to change. It's just the world we live in today. It ain't about, picking up a weapon and doing this and doing that when there are way more effective ways to fight a war. The way more effective way to fight a war. Let's say you sue somebody because, this place was racist against you, and you get a settlement for, let's say, $5 million. You can make an impact with $5 million because you can take that $5 million and you can grow it into something astronomical if you do the right thing with it. Without even having picked up a weapon in the sense of a gun or anything like that. That pen was picked up and that settlement was signed, like, boom, the judge stamped it. Look, you owe these people $5 million. And that's how this war is being, fought a lot of times, or I should say, has been fought. But especially in this day and age, everybody's suing everybody. They suing. They is suing. People don't want to be sued. They rather the chaos than to be sued and lose their money.
We are warning all those who are in business with Israel. We are coming for you because you are the ones who make that government to be what it is.
If he made a statement like that, who's he threatening? That would mean that he's threatening the United States. We coming for you. America, we coming for you.
Engage in an international boycott of all products that come from Israel. Israel will hear that now we have to respect the rights of Palestinians. Comrades, we must never get tired. We will come here as and when we feel like all the time. President of Pudemo, these marches are very impactful. This is what liberated us, and this is what is going to liberate Palestine. We will always come here to remind these people that we don't want what's happening in Palestine. Comrades, the role of embassy is to collect intelligence for their countries. So all embassies of Israel in the world, when they file every day, there was a protest at the embassy. There was a protest at the embassy. One day, that government will listen because they will know that the world doesn't agree with what they are doing. Comrades, we must make sure that those who support Palestine, especially our brothers and sisters who believe that Palestine is under attack. This nonsense of Israel can only be stopped if South Africa takes a position and say leave. The whole African continent will join, the whole progressive international world will join and say Palestine embassies must leave. So today we have no memorandum. To give who memorandum? Because these people are not a government. These are thugs. These are terrorists here. And we can't legitimize the terrorists. We must never give them the respect that we give to the deputy ambassador of Palestine. These people here have got no respect for humanity and for life. Therefore, we must never find ourselves in any cooperation, none whatsoever, with the Israeli embassy. We are happy that the African Union refused to give Israel an observer status in the African Union. We don't want only that. We want a resolution of the African Union that says the embassies of Israel in the whole of Africa must go until the people of Palestine find their peace. So fighters, by coming here, it's an act of sacrifice. You understand the pain of the children of Palestine. You are saying to the children of Palestine, your pain is our pain. You are saying to the children of Palestine, we will never enjoy our freedom as long as you don't enjoy freedom in Palestine. We are not free here as long as Palestine is not free. So, comrades, you did not come because you are bored. You came because you understand the mission. That the mission is a total liberation of the oppressed all over the world. And that mission must continue. We thank the leadership of Gauteng.
Oh, it's getting real out here, y'all. It's getting real out here. America is like Pharaoh. And the people of the world are like, let the people go. Let the people go. They ain't just saying, let us go. They're saying, let everybody go. And we know what happened with Pharaoh. We know what happened with Pharaoh and his armies. But this should clarify a lot of questions you have. Should give you some more insight into what's going on. Keep your seatbelt on. The storm beat on both houses. It beat on the house built on the rock, and it beat on the house built on the sand. But remember, only one house stood. Which one are you? Because you will be tested and you will be tried to see if you are worthy. With that being said, God bless each and every one of you in Jesus Christ's name. As always, stay focused for Jesus. And as you know, the truth is not debated, it is declared.
Thanks for waking up with us.